Good afternoon, judges. Thank you for being here. We are Bricolage Capital. My name is Albert. This is my team, the best team I could possibly ask for. This is our head of finance, Or Levy. This is Sherry, our lead researcher, and Victor, our sustainability specialist. So we are here today to present you with an exciting development opportunity at 320 West Water Street. After considerable research, we have reached what we think is the best use for this site, the Lucre Public Market. The Lucre, the name comes from the actually Thomas Lucre of Tom's River. So we really want to incorporate historical aspects into the project. So our goal overall for this project is to create the social and cultural center of all of Tom's River, if not Ocean County. We want a place where people can have experiences, immersion, place for people to go out, spend time with friends and family over food, drink, culture, music, art. And to best go over all of our points today, we'll start off with Sherry, who will talk about market research. So Sherry, what did you find?
Thanks. So we wanted to assess the opportunity for the Lucre market, and we examined the waterfront redevelopment plan and focused our development on consolidation, community, and sustainability. One of the areas that we wanted to look at, we wanted to know the volume of traffic that was coming into the area. The Lucre is less than 500 feet from the parkway, and Esri reported that there are about over 100,000 vehicles that pass through Tom's River on a daily basis. So we know that the volume is there to sustain patronage at the Lucre market. Next, we wanted to know what adults were spending their money on in the area. So what we found, according to Esri, was that almost 1 in every 3 adults were expected to visit restaurants 4 times a month and spend $7,000 on entertainment and food away from the home. So for an area that doesn't have a lot of entertainment options, the Lucre is in prime position to capitalize on the most lucrative sectors of the market. Next, we wanted to get a snapshot of the current demographics in the area. And what we found is that there's an established, mature population there with a above average per capita income that is expected to grow faster than inflation within the next 5 years. We designed and developed the Lucre to be the trendiest and most socially engaging venue, go-to destination in all of Tom's River. We're going to be offering fine and casual dining, entertainment, and immersion experiences. So to do that, we wanted to really incorporate successful elements from other trendy social venues. So one of the venues that we looked at was the highly rated Amateur Works in Tampa, Florida. This is a trendy downtown mixed-use space. It has green market space, exciting restaurants and bars, intelligently designed co-working office space, and they have a wedding hall. We also looked at Pier 21 in New York City. This too is also a trendy downtown mixed-use site. And what's exciting about this is that it has incredible scenic rooftop that is perfect for events and concerts. They also have a waterfront area where they have art installations and VR immersion experiences. What they have in common with the Lucre market is that we have all of these amenities that they have, and we're close to downtown. We're close to a new condo construction that's coming to the area, and we're also close to waterfront access. So the Lucre is definitely, we're sure, going to be successful, this project. So I'll pass it back to Albert, and he will give you a layout of our building design.
Thank you, Sherry. So now that we have that that valuable market study information, we wanted to go to the site analysis and really see if this was a viable project and what parts would work. And in considering the site, we really focused on two things: the inherent advantages to the site, where we can leverage and develop those advantages, and secondly, the custom use and fits of the site to the needs and wants of the community. So as you can see here, this is the area marked in green is the Toms River downtown area. This is the neighboring borough of Beechwood. Water Street runs along the pink line, and our site is marked in blue over there. Garden State Parkway is on the left. So there's a lot of linkages and also a fair amount of close proximity to major areas. So our site is marked in blue right here, and one of the major linkages is the purple. Here is the bus depot, and this 500 condos next door is, we followed the news in order to better determine what use would be the best for the community. And we actually found that this 500 condos as of yesterday is actually slated to be 1,000 condos. So we really don't encourage residential developments because we don't want to oversaturate that market. And we also wanted a more hands-on approach to our research, so we reached out to locals and local business owners, and we asked, what is the area needing or lacking? And one restaurant manager told us, there's no nightlife, there's not much social activities to do, it's just retail, and there's also a huge unmet need for organic grocery and organic food. So our vision for the Lucre Public Market is to be not only the social, cultural capital of Toms River, but of all of Ocean County. And we imagine a day where Toms River residents will say, Nina, let's go to the Lucre, grab a drink on the rooftop, catch the game. Or maybe, hey, let's go see that new art installation. Or it's been a hard week at the office, and we really need somewhere to go and hang out. So now let me walk you through our building design. As you can see, it's spread over 4 floors, and it's in the shape of a fishhook, which pays homage to the humble beginnings of Toms River as a fishing village. And not only is it an aesthetic touch, but it wraps around this common green area, which we hope to be a public area for weekend farmer markets and events for the community, like concerts. It could be where the Halloween parade starts. So let me walk you through the floor plan. So on the first floor, we have the organic grocer. We were hoping, maybe thinking of Whole Foods, Aldi's, and then that's where presumably the 1,000 condo tenants are going to do their grocery shopping. We wanted to implement office space on the second floor, as well as some light retail. And then on the third floor, we have the Huddy Food Hall, named after Revolutionary War hero Joshua Huddy. It's going to be 25 stalls of local cuisine that showcases the talent and the diverse selections that you can get from Toms River. And it's going to be a very trendy place, Instagrammable, and it's a destination to be. And then on the rooftop, we have a restaurant adjoined with a rooftop venue. This is where we can have seasonal events, and it also will serve as a revenue generator, because people can host events there, like corporate events, corporate retreats, weddings, things like that. And if we look at the back of the building, we've incorporated some historical architectural elements in terms of arches and columns, but also just melded it with more modern materials like glass and steel. So for a tenant mix, we were thinking very light retail, and we really wanted to incorporate a chapter of the SBDC on the second floor for the office spaces, because we wanted it to be a place where local businesses can come and incubate and develop their small businesses and further revitalize the waterfront district. So now Orr will talk about how it can be a great financial investment opportunity for any prospective developer.
Thank you, Albert. So as you saw, the Lucre would be very, very amazing opportunities for those who live close by to come and enjoy. But at the end of the day, for those developers, it comes down to the numbers. Is it profitable to do so, to invest in such area? So that's what I'll go through today. There's a couple of tables over here, so I'll try to go with them through them quickly. Over here on the left, as Albert spoke before, this is our lots. We actually took 6 different lots and combined them together into one to create the looker. The area of all these lots together came close to 10 acres. And the next table you could see over here, our floor plan. As Albert spoke before, the gross square feet for these lots would be 372 square foot, and the net leasable space would be 315,000 square feet. Next, what we could see is more ratios and more specified numbers. But what really points out over here is the parking spaces that we decided to provide. We were able to get 712 parking spaces to ensure that the looker will have enough parking spaces for all its customers. Next, it was very, very important to us to add into our modeling part of developer models. A very known developer model in new construction models is hard and soft cost analysis. In this assignment, we received a very vague cost analysis. So we're only given cost for the purchase, for the construction, and cost for the parking. But we did add over here, as you can see, the soft cost and hard cost. Soft cost, as usual, would be architect and engineering. To be part of it would be permits, insurance, and so on. But the more important for our specific assignment is the construction analysis. You can see that we had a price of $100, and which came up to a cost of $31 million. And for the parking space of the $4,000 per parking spot that we received, we time it by the 712 parking spaces, which came up to $2.8 million. Now, other very important aspect was to figure out what was the cost of the acquisition. In order to figure that out, we had to do a site compare to figure out what were the comparables of the different lands in the area. And we were able to sum up and do the average of those prices, and we came up to a price of 10.71 per square feet to purchase the area, that it came up to $4.5 million. Summing all of these costs up, we received a number of $39 million for the net development. Now, next, although all these costs are very important, what we decided to do is to show the developer what will be the rent roll when the entire project is already stabilized. I will show after that, we have a small timeline to show how actually we will get there. But for our rent roll, what was important to us is to find out the right amount of the right prices of comparable tenants. So as you can see over here, we listed few tenants. We actually did more in-depth analysis than that, but this is only few of them. We came up with average prices for tenant, for offices, for restaurants, for retails, and so on. You could see on the tables. And underneath it, we decided to split up and to figure out what was the average size for different restaurants, for different retails. So we summed them up here, and we got that the looker will be able to contain about 7 restaurants, 25 food halls, 7 casual food bars, and offices, and as you can see, more and more of them. Summing those two tables together, we were able to get our rent roll. And for that rent roll, the income from the looker would be $6.5 million. Now, it was very important to us not to charge as our competitors high price for the parking. So we found out that our competitors were charging $15 or $10 per day per parking, and instead of that, we decided to charge less, and we came up to a number of only $5 per day. And we took that $5 a day and we timed it up by the 712 parking spots that we have, and we came up to an income of $1.2 million. Summing those two incomes together, we got a $7 and $8 million of income. Next, as I said earlier, it was important to us to show the timeline that we incorporated into the place. The land acquisition, the construction, and the stabilized process was about 10 years. Now, it was very important to us to show you, and we didn't know that you'll get the binders next to you, so we actually wanted you to see the most important number, the NOI. So you can see our small table over here of cash flow, the summarized table of our cash flow. And as you can see, we decided to add we decided to have a vacancy rate for the commercial rent, and also a vacancy rent for the parking, as you can see in front of you. And we also decided to figure out what were the expenses. In order to find the expenses, we also had to do very deep analysis to figure out what was the expenses for property taxes, for insurance, for heat, utilities, so on and so on. And you can see after we sum up all the total expenses, we got an NOI of $3.8 million. Now, we thought to ourselves, okay, that is great numbers, but how are we going to finance such a project? So as long as we got into figuring out the numbers of financing such a large development, we realized that we need very accurate numbers and costs of the entire project. So we decided, instead of showing you how we will finance the project, to show you how we will finance such a project when it's already stabilized. So the numbers in front of you, we received an interest rate from part of the assignment that we got. We received a 4% interest rate for the loan. So we checked out what were the comparables for the cap rate for such a property, and it was 6.5%. So evaluating the NOI and the 6.5% cap rate, the value of the looker would be close to $58 million. Now, after looking at the numbers in front of you, you can see that eventually, after all the calculations, we receive a cash-on-cash return of 8.8%. We also wanted to show you quickly the amortization table and how we will exactly finance it. We decided to do what's common in the market, which is a 5-year term for the looker, amortized on 30 years. And you can see the monthly rent, that would be $209,000 per month. Thank you for that. Next, Victor, our sustainability specialist will speak next.
Thank you. All right. So we realized how important it is in today's culture to kind of combat the urban footprint that we have today on our globe. So in addition, in Tom's River redevelopment plan, they wanted a more green, more pedestrian-friendly community. So they wanted less traffic congestion throughout downtown. So they wanted more buses in highly dense residential areas to go to the bus terminal 2 blocks away. So we wanted to utilize that, and we wanted to put more green walkable space from the bus terminal to our lot. And in addition, we have the plaza in the middle, which would be predominantly green space, and we have our rooftop garden. The rooftop garden not only functions as a aesthetic space, but it has functionality by cooling and heating the building. So we want our building to be one that lasts for decades to come. So we suggest that we work towards a LEED certification. LEED is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, and they're the most widely used building rating system. So these are the minimum requirements to even be certified, but we don't just want to meet the minimum requirements. We want to go past silver and achieve the gold certification. So LEED created a point system where you must accumulate at least 60 points to be gold certified, and these are various ways to accumulate up to 60, but we wanted to focus more on water reduction and energy consumption by having the newest tech built and engineered into our building, so we know exactly what's going in, what's coming out of our building. In addition, our lot is within a FEMA designated flood zone, so we wanted to counteract any potential floods. So we have our parking on the back south end of our lot, because the water is towards that side. And if there were any potential floods, it would have to go around the building before it could penetrate the first floor. In addition, we would re-engineer the ground to have bioswales to redirect the water to nearby parks. So now that we talked about the future of our project, we found it important to preserve the history and culture of Tom's River. We thought that the most impactful way to kind of preserve this history was to designate certain venues and areas in our building and our whole project itself to local historical figures. For example, Luker Public Market was named after Thomas Luker, who was one of the first settlers found in Tom's River. If you saw on our floor plan, the Huddy Food Hall is named after Joshua Huddy, who was a commander in the New Jersey militia And the green space in the middle is named after Lenni Lenape, which is the first indigenous people found on that land. In addition, we thought it was a good idea to make the footprint of the building into a fish hook to commemorate the Toms River being a fishing village. The building also has some neoclassical architectural elements to it. We included columns and arches to kind of balance out the new materials we use, like glass panels. The reason West Water Street is an opportunity for any prospective developer that wants to make an impact for the community to come. And through market research and analysis, we believe it provides an economic, social, and cultural effectiveness to the community. Thank you for listening to us, and I hope you enjoy the show.
So the reason you did not have a residential component is because you found out the adjacent property is going to have condominiums on it. Is that true?
Correct.
That's true. And we didn't want to oversaturate the market by making mixed-use residential, commercial, and we didn't want condos just hanging out empty and unsold. So we wanted to add to a part of the community that doesn't exist yet, a go-to social place.
Is the adjacent development with the 500 units, is there going to be any sort of retail component to that?
If there's retail, it's very limited and just on the ground floor.
We actually thought that we would like to use the opportunity and look what is, we try to find what is missing in that area. So we looked what do the actual tenants who currently live in the neighborhood, what are they missing? So we made phone calls to neighboring people, to some of the current people who live there to figure out what they don't have, and that's what we heard. So we decided that they really need something like the Looker.
You know the timing of the housing? Because sometimes in order for retail to be successful, you need the rooftops adjacent for people to frequent the commercial and just not rely on outside people driving into town.
Absolutely. Part of our vision for the future of the Looker is to really implement and be a place for those new future residents to go and be have an immersive experience and be social. I think that it's very important to consider that the development of the waterfront district is an ongoing thing. The projects have to meet up, be concurrent. So definitely, this is part of that revitalization process.
Just a question, you had mentioned you had seen the reference to 1,000 units in the media?
Yes, Shore News as of yesterday.
Okay, and did you validate that or verify that the reporting was accurate?
So currently, the 500 is the plans have not yet been submitted, but there's only one developer who is bidding on those contracts. So there's not much competition. I feel like with a project like this, being a first mover in that area, there's not much else to do besides maybe the Ocean County Mall, and that's just very heavy retail. And there's no organic grocery around. There's just no other place that fulfills the needs that the Looker does. So even if the condos are off, definitely part of the waterfront plan is to implement residential. So we know that there is going to be residential, and that will be the future base of residents that will have a symbiotic relationship with.
So your decision on not including any residential was not based on 500 versus 1,000, it was just based on the overall plan, focusing on mixing the uses between residential and retail?
The need of the market.
Okay. My other question I had is, had you factored the cost of a liquor license into your pro forma? And did you research at all what the going rate for a liquor license might be?
Liquor licenses in Jersey, well, we had very limited assumptions, and we would have to, those food stalls was still very preliminary, so we would know who wants to serve liquor or who doesn't want to serve liquor.
Can answer. So part of the redevelopment of the downtown area is working with the governments of the city. So we could be ensured that they would like us to build something that would bring more income and more taxes for their end by providing us their liquor permits and everything that involves with that, of course.
Okay, then I guess my last question is, in terms of your expenses, I know you mentioned real estate taxes as being a component of that.
Major expense.
Did you consider at all, and many developers sometimes lead with this when they come in to a municipality, but the idea of a payment in lieu of tax credit, this is a redevelopment area, so that is an option, and it's often pretty significant in terms of your, if you have any gaps you need to bridge in your
Right.
pro forma.
Right. So many developers these days try to tend towards opportunity zone areas, and we are ensured that before we will build such a development area, we would work again with those governmental agencies that want us and want developers to come to Tom's River and reinvent in place and bring it up to life again. So we will definitely do that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
You had mentioned competitors charging for parking. Where are you seeing that sort of daily parking in a more suburban environment, like a Tom's River? Or you're paying for it?
Sure. So when we've done our analysis, we look towards different retail places that have parking, and we just made phone calls to ask them what is the price for daily parking, and they gave us the number.
But for associated with what type of use?
But like daily parking, just when-
Mostly like retail. And we also wanted to work out a validated parking system where the parking is cheaper for people who come in and do business at the Lucre.
Of course, something very important when somebody will come, when a client would come to the Lucre and would like to do a grocery shopping in Whole Foods, for example, we will arrange some sort of agreement with Whole Foods to maybe subsidize the cost of the parking. We'll figure something out, sort of relationship between the developer and the tenant of the building with the parking.
Actually, a follow-up question to Steve's on the parking. Did I see you had 4,000 spaces? Did I read that right in your table?
712, and
Okay.
that was based off of the redevelopment plan.
I was going to say, well, I don't know where 4,000 would be enough for we're never going to, I don't think you'll ever see that many spaces in the
That was
entire
the cost.
Yeah.
The cost of
So-
the parking.
712?
712, that was based off the redevelopment plan objectives and initiatives set out, and we qualify for a mixed use discount of 25% as well.
Okay, so you're able to fit that on your property? I didn't see it in any of the
Yes, so
graphic representation.
the parking, we wanted to go unstructured because it's a FEMA designated flood zone, so the parking will actually mitigate that flooding risk. So it would have to go around the building before it can actually get in the building.
And it's surface parking?
Surface parking.
Okay,
yes.
and it's not enclosed within, it's part of the 5 acres that you were working with?
And structured parking is not.
No,
enclosed?
you said you had surface parking?
Yes, so the surface parking, we did the numbers, we abide by the redevelopment plans, impermeable ratios
Right.
for parking versus.
And you were able to fit it on the site?
Yes.
For 700 spaces?
Yes, we had a very long night. Yes,
First of all, it's a very strong vision.
thank you.
So it's fascinating to me as someone who tries to do this on a daily basis. Did you consider the fact that people have had difficulty with retail on the third floor, off the ground level, or the fact that the supermarket, which does a lot of prepared foods, might conflict with the food court and the multiple tenants, and also the scope of trying to build something this substantial without a lot of pre-leasing? It's a very high-risk, high-reward project. So I just wondered if you had thought of it that way. And
Absolutely. So in terms of the pre-leasing, our strongest way to mitigate those sort of risks were to do a really strong market research. There's no organic food. People really have to drive quite a while to get just regular supermarket goods and groceries. As far as the tenant mix, maybe with the retail on the third floor, our selection of prospective retailers, those are pretty much very high grossing per square foot, and they would draw in a lot of clients as part of the entire experience of the Lucre. It's not just people go in and go to the Lululemon on the third floor and then just leave.
In addition, like another thought was we try to move away from that retail space because there's Ocean County Malls about 7-minute drive away north, and we kind of positioned retail on the third floor because we wanted to make our market more like a food hall, cultural place. So we designed the building so in order to get to the food hall, they would have to pass by the retail first, and then to exit, go back. So try to have more exposure to like actually seeing the retail.
So you use the $100 a foot non-residential construction cost for this?
As part of the assignment's
Yeah.
assumption.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we get.
So
in the
very,
assumptions, yes.
rather optimistic, but
It's very vague,
yeah.
but it is what that's what we're
Very, very
giving. So
Sometimes since Peter's actually been in the business. Second, third floor, commercial uses, restaurant uses, you're not gonna be able to build, stick, like I think the type of retail at $100 a foot was envisioning. Plus, you're talking about lead. Did you look into the multiplier to construct lead versus non-lead is from the soft and hard cost perspective?
So I can add to that. So again, part of the assignment we're giving the specific cost of the entire analysis, and that's why you're asking about the cost of lead versus non-lead. We were given very vague number for cost, and that actually caused us many problems trying to build the models because there's so many things on financial models that are based on costs that for your question, of course, building a lead construction would be much more expensive. But again, we're giving the cost ahead of time, and if we had the opportunity to research cost by ourselves, then I believe we could figure this more specifically and bring very accurate number to answer your question.
And also, the redevelopment plan for the waterfront district is a very long-term vision, centered. One of the main pillars is sustainability. So, LEED, obviously the investment is greater at first, but hopefully those environmental green initiatives pay off in the long run as well. And we could get tax incentives and things like that as well.
Also, I want to add one more note. There's very important aspect of the building being high. We are waterfront property, but as I'm sure all of you have seen, it's really not that close to the waterfront. Being high up there on the roof, our tenants and our clients would be able to look at the waterfront and see those views. So that was a very important aspect that we thought about when we structured the building that way. So
Just about out of time. All right? We good?
Excellent work.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
thank you so much.
Nice meeting you.
Good luck.
Very nice.
Is everybody in black on purpose?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.